I have been an admirer for very long because you have mastered multiple challenges at the same time and have been successful on multiple fronts all in parallel. And that interweaves your personal life as well as your success as entrepreneurs, as philanthropists, as venture investors, and as coaches and mentors. And I want to, in our conversation, interweave those things, right? So let's dive right in. 25 years that we've known each other sounds long, but the much more important number is that you have known each other for 35 years. In fact, you are going to be celebrating your 30th anniversary in July, and I think that deserves a round of applause right there. So what that means is that you have not just stood up and scaled up and exited multiple businesses successfully, you have also managed not to exit the venture of the marriage, and that is an accomplishment in and of itself. But there is a recipe here that I think I want to explore a bit more. You met during the early phase of Intershop here in the United States, and you have then embarked on a journey that allowed you to build for yourselves, but really to build for the young entrepreneurs you're supporting as well, right? When you found each other, you were very different people, both successful business people in your own rights, but different personalities, different approaches, and look at the life you've built and look at the success you've built. What's the recipe? You're different, and you seem to be very complementary, and it all seems to support each other. How does that work?
First of all, I'm really speechless and I'm humbled and I'm so thankful for this award. And I just have to say this because, I'm just speechless. And thank you, Gaba, for giving us this award and for the Laudatio and Consul General. Also for the nice Plattdeutsch speech. I didn't know you could do that. And I'm really, really thankful. And I want to tell you this, and it's from the bottom of my heart. We did not expect this. And so what makes us successful is, I think, love, respect, common interests, and also the same goals in life, and lots of patience.
She was me, and very complimentary. Yeah, it's. I think I learned networking from her, by the way. Yeah, so she helped me a lot on American vendors here in the US as I was importing in the 80s and the 90s products to Europe to get ideally exclusive distributions. But I learned what networking is. Yeah, and I always said Petra was a super networker, and over the years I've learned some of that.
Well, and I want to say Petra is an amazing networker globally, by the way, but I've always had the feeling you are not just networking for the sake of business success. You seem to be authentically interested in people and connections and making a difference, right? And I think that really comes through. Ragnar, I'm going to comment, we had dinner multiple times over the course of our friendship, and there have been many occasions on which when I asked you about your business success, you complimented your wife as really the pillar around which you, then obviously with your entrepreneurial drive, built the business, right? So I am in awe of that experience, but let's unpack this a little bit. Because there were good times, there were bad times, as there always are when you build ventures, and you've done this multiple times. So let's talk about Intershop. A successful experience, you exited that successfully, but there were ups and downs. Talk us through, what did you learn there? There's a story of grit, of course, but how did that set you up for Smato, right? What did you learn there that put you on a path to make that venture a success?
Well, actually in the 90s, in 96, we were trying to raise money for Intershop, and we could not find investors that truly believed that you would buy anything on the internet. We just heard, no, people want to go to the store, they want to touch and feel, and nobody would give their credit card on the internet, and this is impossible. And so we did many rounds here in Silicon Valley, in Germany, of course, and it was impossible. So we had lots of angel investors, and yeah, that was a very painful experience. But it also taught me that if you truly believe in your heart, this is an opportunity and this is something that will happen, you just need to do it, even if you have 20 meetings and 100 well-educated people tell you, "Why are you smoking?" It's like, I mean, this is a strange idea. You have to stick to it if you truly believe in it. That's what it taught me.
Yes, and I think also, I know there's some also entrepreneurs, investors not always know it better, because we've had this several times, coming up with new ideas, and we even heard if it was e-commerce, if it was using your phone. I still remember investors saying, "Who's ever going to download apps? I only use my flip phone making phone calls." So it's and of course Silicon Valley is born on all those ideas, and it is important to sometimes stick with your idea, but also listen, but not necessarily just listen to investors you're pitching to. It's and some great ideas sometimes take some time.
Yeah, we hear many even captains of industry that are very successful, making the wrong bets, right? Steve Ballmer saying this iPhone thing is never going to work because there's no tactile feedback on the keyboard, and look where we are today. But what gives you the strength or the perseverance to say, I'm going to do this no matter what people say? Was it an early signal, early indicators? Did you have insights that you got somewhere that investors just didn't have? What gave you that energy to still persevere?
Okay, I'm a techie, and I think I always was early. We always were early, and I think comes from the first 15 years. I walked at every Comdex, PC World, Mac World, from booth to booth to actually see which is a good product, what we could sell in Europe or in DACH. And I think that has given us a good feeling for products and what works and might work. And there were trends, and clearly now looking backwards, we recognize those trends. And we started AI Hamburg 5 years ago, but within Smarto we did AI the last 15 years, and actually we did in between an AI company in 2002. So AI has been around quite a long time, but now it's a huge opportunity again. And I think if anything should stick with you, now you're here in Silicon Valley, AI is to stay, and it will change every industry, and we should take that as an opportunity to actually see how we can leverage it and make something good out of that.
So let's dive into that, because what I'm hearing from the Intershop experience is that you had experience on collecting what's called the ground truth, right? So a VC might have said, I don't believe that what you're proposing is viable. But you're the kind of people who walk around, who roll up their sleeves, gather the ground truth, right? And that beats sitting sometimes on Sand Hill Road looking at statistics any day. You went from Intershop to Smarto and gained a lot of artificial intelligence experience. How did Smarto set you up for what you are doing today in terms of the AI conviction?
We didn't do AI from the first day, but I think we started in like 2010. So 4 or 5 years, we needed to have enough data. So I think we first used it for fraud detection. So when you do a marketplace, when there's much money in the game, then people try to trick the system. And we were on internet advertising, you have sometimes up to 40% fraud. And we were able to detect this with AI and reduce it to less of 2%. And that resulted that the inventory we had on our marketplace was actually good. So if you run advertising campaigns on that marketplace, they performed better than somewhere else. That helped. And then we started doing more and more. And actually that was the other part. It was actually really fun. If you have a lot of data, if you have clean data, and we did margin optimization, revenue optimization, we did cost optimization. I still remember we had $15 million AWS cost per year, and we reduced it in a single year by $3 million. It was a project, cost us about $500,000. But within a year, so that year, that was 2017, we made 18, we did 180 million in revenue with 15 million in profit, which otherwise would have been 12 million. Yeah, so, and going through this experience, and you need a CFO, someone who does the numbers, you need the tech guy, the product guy, the CTO, and then looking at what can be done. And so we did it within our own company, and it's actually fun. So every corporate, everyone who runs a company, I tell you, any line item you might have, as bigger it is, you're able to improve it by 10 to 20%. Just do it. Yeah. Now, we are preaching this for a couple of years in Germany, still takes a while. Yeah. And that's also something we're realizing in Germany. We're always like 2 to 5 years just behind for sure the US, or for sure Silicon Valley.
But you clearly weren't behind, right, at Smarto. You saw the use case, you saw the potential for artificial intelligence, even if it wasn't at the forefront in the product offering, but you saw it on the cybersecurity front, on optimization of productivity and things of that nature, right? So that's one thing that, frankly, many more companies will have to learn from these days, because we are also in the era of overhyping artificial intelligence, and a lot of this is based on the fact that people are not looking at discrete use cases with real ROI. So you had that experience, and I know from talking to you a lot that you are very much focused on, tell me what the concrete use case is today that gives me a return, right? So now talk to me about the next stage here. We already heard that you started AI Hamburg, AI Fund, right? And now AI Impact as well, based on your experience with AI and your vision for the potential of it. How do these three things fit together? What is your vision?
I think there have been around the last 5-6 years numbers from PwC and now also from McKinsey, the impact of AI to our local economies. And the impact will be during this decade, so within the next 6 years, somewhere between 10 and 25% on GDP. Yeah, so for Germany, it was, these are PwC numbers, plus 11%, China plus 26%. This only can happen if we really take this technology and put it into our economy. Yeah. And what we realized is trying to explain it will not work. Yeah. So we need to see how we package AI, put it in products, and get it in the hands of many corporations. Yeah. And our learning was it's startups who actually take AI, put it into products, and then deploy it to more and more customers. Yeah. Not just to enterprises, but also to SMBs. And we need to have a systematic approach. Yeah. Now, and we don't want to do this for the US, we want to do it for Germany and maybe for Europe, but for sure for Germany. And there's a way to do it. We need startups, we need successful startups, they need to have funding. We have, in the US, you have 20 times more venture capital compared to Germany, and that's a real disadvantage. Yeah, so we started a fund. We have now a 100 million euro AI fund. We have an infrastructure in place. What we did last week was actually from 4 AI hubs, also bring those startups, educate them, make them good, and then bring them to the US. Because that's also something we realized. We only will be able to compete if we create startups who also grow their business into the US. As the German market is always a couple of years behind, it means they will not be able to grow in the local market. By the way, it applies the same with other European countries. So if you internationalize to the US. That's clearly what we're doing, and that's something we did last week, taking 10 startups out of 150 from 4 hubs. We teach them to also not only have already a good business, that's something they did on their own, but we have an accelerator in Hamburg, and those 4 hubs are accelerators, and now bring them to the US to have actually find investors here in the US and do US business. Yeah. In this way, I think, and that's one of our goals, we want to see the next billion-dollar company after SAP in software out of Germany within the next 6 years.
Well, and congratulations on the fund. That's as a first fund, and especially in Germany, that is a big success, and I hope that you will get to your goal. But, let's be honest, it's hard work. We always hear about the limitations of scaling AI in Germany. We always hear compliments that we have lots of AI talent in Germany, especially on the science and R&D side. And we have lots of young people interested in becoming entrepreneurs. But scaling an AI business in Germany and in Europe in general is very hard. Now, after you sold Smarto, you exited very successfully. You could have just, leaned back in your beautiful apartment there right at the Alster and traveled the world and said, I've done my thing, right? For myself and for the world, I'm going to enjoy life. And here you are going at it again, swimming upstream, as it were, in a country that doesn't make scaling very easy. Why? Where do you see the hope for the country? What do you see that other people maybe don't see about AI in Germany?
By working with so many exciting startups in the last years, we truly believe Europe has a big chance. It doesn't have a chance to go up against Microsoft, Google, because they have a lot of power and money behind it. Europe needs to go after solutions for problems that the Mittelstand, for example, has. And that is working with startups in different areas and promoting this. And that's something that we want to give back. We received so much, we had so much luck in our past, and also received so much help, and we want to give something back. And we're not getting any younger, so we definitely want to do something now, and doing something with startups and being excited about it. That's just my life.
So, and having been 40 years now in IT, I can actually say this is a unique opportunity what we have. Everyone now has done some ChatGPT and can say, hey, I do AI, but actually the underlying technology brings us much, much farther, because actually we are able to take the qualified knowledge of mankind and put it at the tips of your fingertips of 6 billion smartphone users. That's the opportunity. And what that means is we will have medical advisors, where, whenever anybody has a problem, there will be an app for that, which actually helps you, and it's actually able to access the qualified knowledge of mankind globally, every language, out of every language. Just imagine all those studies you have from the different countries, and you're able to access this and use this as your advisor for any problems you have. This is on the medical side, and you can take any topic. That's the opportunity what we have with AI, and it will mean a big step in healthcare, from caring to prevention. And we have all the numbers. We have 8% of, more than 6,000 AI companies in Europe. The biggest group of them, we have a database of all of them, and we've gained them, and you use AI for that. 8% of them are in healthcare, for example. Yeah, and you know it's a big problem, and wherever you dig into, you find those problems. But guess what? We've seen technology. We've had companies last week here who actually were able to reduce misdiagnostics from, guess what, MRT on prostate cancer. Misdiagnostics today, when you go to a doctor, 14%. That's every sixth man, yeah, who gets wrong diagnostics, what you can reduce to less than 2%. And wherever you look, whenever companies have brought AI into diagnostics, same results, yeah, reducing that. And that actually means is health will play a big role, and we can and make it available on a global basis. Yeah. And that's the opportunity, and that is what we also need to understand in Germany and Europe. And coming to numbers, there's more AI talent in Europe than in all Northern America. But we need to get it to work. Yeah. Petra said it's applied AI. Put it in solutions which everyone can use. And we will have more and more great German and European startups also coming over here. So you will have the chance to meet all of them. Some of you were last week at the event and have seen them. And I must say, and Hedy actually helped also that, we helped them pitching, and they were great. And I've seen pitches in the past where I must say, cannot compete to Americans, but those were good. And that's something we will teach them. They already have good tech, but we help them to do also good sales and marketing and also good selling to investors. And you can expect there will be a whole wave of great startups coming from Germany and from Europe. And that's the opportunity. And it will be, it's waste reduction in a lot of things. I mean, basically, how we use resources, how we do diagnostics, how we do healthcare, a lot of that is waste. Yeah. Paper pushing, 80% will be kind of done by AI. That is foreseeable. So to startups, yes, and that's my problem if I start talking. But now you all know, to the question what Olaf just had, is we are excited about this, and we are excited about where we stand with mankind. This is the most exciting time of mankind. We just need to realize it and take action.
I think that too deserves a round of applause, right? Clearly you two have fire in the belly, and that's the precondition for success. You mentioned talent, and actually saying that Europe may have a talent advantage over North America in pure numbers. Petra, you work with universities in Germany and across Europe a lot. Your evidence of your efforts, your joint efforts to mine for that talent. So if talent is one potential advantage, so much unharnessed and underutilized talent, are there other things that, frankly, the United States or North America could learn from Germany or from Europe, whether it's mindset or, I don't know, is it regulations? Is it anything where you think, look, actually, there are some areas where we might have a leg up? Because, there's lots of people going to Germany talking about what Germany can learn from the United States or from Silicon Valley. But can we also take a page out of the book of Germany over here?
Petra just passed this to me to answer that. Actually, I think still in Germany we need to learn from Silicon Valley. The speed and also capital, venture capital, is a completely underserved asset class in wealth management in Germany and Europe. And we just need to understand those startups need capital. And here, you're all here. So you've learned all those stories for, what was it, since the 70s here. So over more than 40 years an ecosystem grew up and has actually been the foundation for the wealth which has been built here. We in Germany still can learn from that. Yeah? And now I tell you, on our fund, it took us nearly 3 years to set up this fund. And we've been pitching to family offices, to high net worth individuals, and so on. And guess what? They're really good in real estate. Yeah? But they haven't understood what the opportunity there is. So we need to activate the private capital. It doesn't help us to go to government and say, oh, you need to put billions there. Yeah. And by the way, someone might have read the news last week. UAV, Arabic Emirates, they're putting a 100 billion AI fund to work to actually within the next 6 years to produce 40% of their GDP through AI. Yeah. So bold moves we haven't learned. The way how we can solve this is getting corporations and high net worth individuals start putting money to work. That is important. Now, here I'm preaching to the wrong audience very clearly. You are here, so you've seen the other side, but use your relationships, use your ties into Germany. That's the message we need to get there, because there is enough talent, but we need to support it in a systematic way. And that's something we still can learn. And hopefully, and that's our approach, we will set those 4-8 hubs together. We need to collaborate. I think the only way for Germany, for Europe, to compete on an international level is that we need to much more cooperate, take our joint knowledge and forces and put this together and put it to work. Yeah? And then maybe the US can learn, how you cooperate in an ecosystem and not just compete. Yeah. We are not there yet.
Not yet, but with your help, we'll get there. We need many more mentors like you. I might add that in our own roamings across Europe, we actually see a lot of potential for young entrepreneurs, but also corporations who ride on the wave of trust. I think we're seeing in the United States that about 80% of Americans are starting to say we don't trust the current shape of the global hyperscaler platforms, including lack of privacy, lack of agency, lack of monetization. And while with good reason you could argue that things like the EU AI Act are overbearing and one size fits all, there is a lot of potential in offerings from Germany that instill trust. I give you one example. My good friend Matthias here and our friend Marcos are actually now digging into maybe using AI-driven avatars for our podcast that allow us to translate that podcast into multiple languages. We came across a trustworthy European company that offers you complete control over your avatar. The data is yours. You can kill the avatar anytime you like, and there will be no trace. And frankly, that level of trust of the companies that do punch through the overregulation is actually a big competitive advantage. And in healthcare, in education, in psychotherapy, etc., that trust will be a great asset.
And of course, EU AI Act, it's you mentioned this, I think the approach is right, having a system in place. By the way, I also know in the US there are tendencies to also go in that direction. We just need in Europe to make sure that the bureaucracy is not killing then the startups. Yeah. So we have even startups now who focus there on solutions, and it also will mean probably AI on both sides to make it faster and cheaper for everyone to get enough transparency into the different risk factors.
Yeah, and you make an excellent point. Is it the regulation that's the problem, or is it the bureaucracy that's a problem, right? And those are two different things. Okay, we're going to have to start to come to a close here, but I want you both to get into a time machine. And I want you to pretend you're going back 30 years. Give me one thing as entrepreneurs that you would be telling your younger self.
Basically what I talked about before, that if you really truly believe this is the right thing to do, don't question yourself. Just do it.
Yeah, agree. I think adding to the what you believe and put the numbers around together. It's so actually the first would be go much earlier to the US. Yeah. I should have done this much earlier, and it was a right move, and everyone who is here probably will kind of confirm right move. This is a great place to be here concerning innovation. But the other is, and that's something I would now do. One is you get kind of a feeling, but it's getting the numbers around, and you can actually sum it up. It's Tem Sam Som. Yeah. So everyone who has talked to investors knows what that means. It's addressable markets. Yeah, and look, is it really a large market? Yeah, that's. I should have done this earlier, and adding that would have made some of the things easier. Besides coming earlier to Silicon Valley.
Fantastic. Thank you. I'm hearing stick to your vision, don't listen to the wrong people, but stay true to yourself and to that vision. I'm also hearing, leap earlier, right? Make these leaps earlier, but with good numbers and good reasoning.
And find great partners.
Yeah, there we go. All right, that's the biggest recipe of them all. Travel forward by 30 years and tell me, where are we when it comes to AI entrepreneurship transatlantically? Give me your vision, a few strokes.
I hope, so in 30 years, AI will have changed everything. I'm completely convinced of this. But I think important, and I hope that in 30 years, we have enough united the free Western world based on our values. I think that is important. We cannot allow that something comes in between there, because I think we all have learned the world is not just a peaceful world anymore. That's a hope, but that's something every one of us can do something for that, and that will allow us to actually have a much greater, better world where I think with AI we will be able to solve pretty much every problem in the world. Yeah, if we haven't fully at that time in 30 years already destroyed our climate.
Climate being a big one, right? And there too, Europe has a lot to offer, and California is a great partner in this. I think they're kindred spirits, as we heard earlier from Oliver. So it's very clear that you are each other's greatest return on investment. And I think that's a wonderful thing to see as I followed your journey, as I said up top. It's nice to see how you reinforce each other and each other's visions. And it is my wish for any entrepreneur, but specifically German entrepreneurs, that they could benefit from mentors like these two. And I think that's one thing that Germany could benefit from. More entrepreneurs who exit successfully here, returning or giving back over there, because young entrepreneurs don't know what the do's and don'ts are unless they hear it from those who've been around the corner. And to me, frankly, and I think it's a bit of an open secret, that mentoring and coaching is single-handedly the most effective and often the most undervalued leadership style out there. We always think about leaders as people who are alpha animals, the go-getters, right? And there's obviously, as an entrepreneur, you have to be. But then there are the leaders who give back and who mentor and coach and empower others. And I think you two are a shining example of both of those, right? So one more time, congratulations. Okay, I think we're about ready for the whiskey tasting and for the dessert. And I promise no Speedo dancing here. So please, let's get the dance floor outside. Thank you, everybody.
we're going to close tonight with just one more piece, very short, by the San Francisco Chamber Orchestra, and go straight into dancing after that. And we're going to interrupt with the raffle when we're out there. But dancing in 3 minutes.